Hello and welcome to the Mind Detox podcast. I'm your host, Sandy Newbigging. I'm a trauma-aware therapeutic coach and meditation teacher known for unifying therapy and spirituality, and I'm the author of 12 books, including New Beginnings, Mind Calm, and Mind Detox. I've also been teaching my insights and techniques via my award-winning academy for almost 2 decades. For this podcast, I usually share extracts from my Calm Clan community webinars. I'm also sometimes joined by guest experts for the occasional chit-chat. All so you can heal the hidden causes of anything problematic going on in your life, and so you can access more peace and enjoy the best life possible. I've been a monk and had to get myself out of a spiritual cult. I have a busy clinic with lots of fascinating clients, stories and takeaways. I'm usually creating a course or writing a new book, and I'm on my own journey of healing and knowing myself. So thank you for joining me for this episode. You never quite know what you're going to get, but I hope you get a lot from listening. And without further ado, let's begin. So hello and welcome to April, also known as Aprio in Latin, which means to open. And as this is the original New Year, I wanted to do New Beginnings theme this month. And there's been lots of new beginnings happening in my life. How about yours? Have you noticed anything shifting or changing or opening up for you? I start the New Beginnings book, this one here, although it has had a few covers over the years. I think it's in its 3rd edition. But I start the New Beginnings book with a little blurb on every second offering a new beginning. And it really does. It really does. If we're showing up in the moment. Right now, the force of creation are miraculously and magnificently coming together to give birth to a brand new moment. And in the mundane, in the routine, in the stuff we have to do, and the goals that we might believe we have that we need to get sorted and done as soon as possible, or whatever, we can forget quite easily that the moment of power is here, and there really is an infinite number of possibilities of what can happen right now. This moment is bursting with potential and possibilities. It is the moment that everything has ever come from. Everything has ever come from. But do we engage our life in this way? Do we engage our life with ongoing experience of magic, of joy, of creativity? Or do we accidentally, unconsciously, through habit or whatever, live more on the back foot, reactive, even resistant, potentially even dare I say it, feeling like a victim to circumstance sometimes, feeling a bit stuck or overwhelmed or not knowing what to do next. Out of habit, and I shared this in the New Beginnings book, out of habit and conditioning, we can accidentally play the victim. We can slip into the habit of dwelling on the past, complaining about the present, believing that we're stuck or powerless in some way to make a change. And we can let fear limit our future, what we want in our life. And the teachings shared in New Beginnings, I still 100% stand by today. There's 10 inner teachings in the book, or the most recent version of the book anyway. And these teachings can help us to shift our mindset, shift our inner experience of life to one of celebration, celebrating the gift of life. They can help us to melt into the magnificent moment and boldly do whatever it takes or whatever is required to evolve and to create the life that we want. And it does take boldness. It can take courage. It can definitely take persistence and commitment. And for today, because I've shared the 10 inner teachings before, and I may return to them later in this month because we have a part two coming up, but I'm not going to focus today on the 10 inner teachings. When I sat with it, of what I wanted to share with you, partly because of what I've been sharing over the last year with you, um, I really wanted to share. How do I say this? It's like you could call it a teaching, an inner teaching. Is it another inner teaching, or is it really the philosophy that underpins all of the 10 other teachings? That's what I came to include as I was preparing for today, that it's actually uh, kind of like an assumption, a presupposition, something that is inherent in all the other inner teachings shared in New Beginning. So I want to share that, and with in the context of manifesting miracles. I really feel we could do with a bit of that. How about you? Do you want to do you want to feel get a bit more like that again? I do. We can miss it. So I, as always, decided to look in the dictionary out of curiosity as to what is a miracle. What is the common understanding, the general understanding of the term miracle? And the first definition I came across was this: a surprising and welcome event that is not explicable by nature or scientific laws and is therefore considered to be the work of a divine agency. Ooh, that's nice. That's a nice one. And definition number two: a highly improbable or extraordinary event, development, or accomplishment that brings very welcome consequences. I like that one. A highly improbable or extraordinary event, development, or accomplishment that brings very welcome consequences. And so when I was looking at these definitions, a couple elements really stood out with what I want to share with you today. The first was the word improbable. What a great word, improbable. I even enjoy saying it, improbable. Logic, with its limitations of the conditioned mind, will often say what we want is unlikely, not possible for us, or even improbable, probably not likely going to happen. From where we are today, right now, we might not be able to see how it's going to happen. We might not be able to see how it's going to happen, but happen it does. Happen it does. So improbable, I want you to see how logic will often talk us out before we even tried or dreamt about it or let ourselves enjoy that possibility. The mind will often bring in how improbable it is, how unlikely it's and impossible it is for me. I'm going to share with you a number of miracles that have happened in my life in the last few years today, all of which completely improbable, completely improbable. If I had been attached to the how, I don't know how they would have happened. They're miracles because I don't know how they happened. Does that make sense? There was some kind of divine intervention. There was improbability challenged. One of the things I want you to take away from this little pep talk on manifesting miracles is the surprising source from which your miracle will most likely come from. You see, if you knew where it was going to come from, it probably wouldn't be a miracle because it would be kind of expected and planned for. And you'd have your steps A, B, C, and you would work through A, B, and you'd get to C, and you get to see your miracle. And you're like, there's not really much miracle in that necessarily, that kind of way of it happening. When we're engaging our goals, our intentions, our life, we must be open to it not arising or coming from the source from which we believe most probable. And that's the territory of miracles. For example, I'm sitting here today in a beautiful little cabin next door to the land that is ours. And this is most definitely improbable and surprising, very much surprising. To create this, logic and the material world and physics and like that kind of realm would suggest I would have to have um, the money in my bank account. I would have to then take that money and transfer it to other things, whether that's building materials and builders and all that kind of stuff. And I'd have to engage in the entire process of building this place. That's what logic would have happened. But what happened in reality was that, well, I think some of you have heard the story. I'm not going to go into massive detail, but more from the miracle perspective. And to confirm or to reinforce what I'm trying to share today is that I had to go through the process of things not working out with the first architects we hired, getting to the point where I had to make a decision, which I don't normally like to do, which is to sack somebody. Um, yeah, kind of conflict avoidant there. Don't really want to do that. Always want to see the best, hope that they're going to come around in the end, blah blah. But there's a point where I was like, no, we have to do this. We have to sack that. We have to move on, despite the time of 9, 10 months working with them, hoping to be building in the next month or so at that point. The main house. I had to let myself get really frustrated and annoyed and have a bit of a stamping feet moment. I had to let that energy be there because they, after they didn't deliver, they then asked us for more money to close the contract. Yeah. Anyway, let's not go there. So I'm sitting there one Friday afternoon going, no, I'm not willing to have to hire another architect and then wait another year and a half to get on with our life. And that energy went, you know what? We're going to move on to the land, whether it takes. I mean, we started immediately researching cheap porta cabins and these do-it-yourself build in a few days or caravans or different ways in which to just we knew what we wanted and we were moving towards it. And in the process of that, we happened to tell Christina's dad that of what happened and of our plans and what we're going to do. And he turns around and says, well, actually, I was planning to build a cabin on the land next door to yours. Not now, but you know what? I'll just bring forward the timeline for that. I promise you, like we then together went online, we found a architectural plan for a little cabin. We printed it off, made a couple changes with pencil and stuff, then updated it with a little Photoshop or whatever. But we had this little plan. We printed it off. They started building within 7 days. The foundations were laid within 7 days of that frustrated moment. The guy that built it basically did it off an A4 bit of paper. He hadn't even seen the kind of the CGI or the or what it was meant to look like. And I'm amazed that they actually did it. Kind of went, yeah, the roof's kind of like this. And I went, okay. Anyway, the point I'm making is that it's a miracle because we managed to be here, leave the rented accommodation, be paying no rent during the process of our new house being built, which is great because it was about 2 grand a month, which is not very nice to keep paying if your project is running over a year and a half or so. And his builders that work for his school just took care of it. Last week we had there was like 15, 20 men just helping us have a lovely house, finishing the garden, adding hoses where they weren't and fixing things that weren't quite right and just helping the house. And I was looking around going, how did this happen? At no point did we organize any of this. The how was being taken care of. Now, I'm not saying it's always as extreme as that, okay? But I'm trying to give an opening example of something that's improbable and came from a surprising source. Does that make sense? We can be a bit caught up in a if I'm going to meet someone, for example, then I'm gonna have it's gonna happen either in a bar, or it's gonna happen by doing online dating, or it's gonna happen by meeting them at the office or whatever. And we can get a bit like kind of like that with it. Okay. Do you see what I'm saying? So for the manifesting miracles, we have to be willing for it to arise from an unexpected, surprising source. So that's where I want to start with you. Okay. In essence, what I'm trying to say with this simple teaching is something I've said before, but I really want you to I would really invite you to take on board and really play with in your life. What if it's not your job to know how it's going to happen? What if that's not your job? How does that free up your mental capacity, your mental assets and resources? If you're not trying to figure out how it's going to happen, but you're focused on what you would like, and as a bonus, why you want it. Why you want it. The first step, the primary foundation for living your dream life is to allow yourself to dream again. Is to allow yourself to dream again. I'm going to share in a moment 10 miracles that have happened to me in the last few years, which, if I wasn't letting myself dream again, I probably would have talked myself out of before I even got out the starting blocks. And by the starting blocks, I mean I would have had the thought and I would have probably disregarded it before even I got to the dreaming stage and the excitement stage and the wondering stage. I would have talked myself out of it. And I really want you to see if you can reflect and recognize any of this in your life too. Not my example. My examples are personal, but we want to be placing our attention on what and why, and then be willing to do whatever how shows up. We then are willing to engage whatever how arises. And that is fundamental because none of this is just magical, wistful thinking or just nice things to hear on a Sunday evening or whenever you're watching this. It's very real. I'm going to talk in a bit about how much you have to meet the universe halfway or even more than halfway sometimes. We have to participate in the process, but we do not need to know the way. The way reveals itself. So 10 things I've manifested in no particular order. And I'm going to share little stories about why they're miracles. And for me, they might not be miracles for you. You might go, that's just normal. But for me, it's a miracle. Why? Because I know within myself, it would have been improbable, impossible even. Never going to happen. Okay. So the first one would have to be, and in no particular order, but it's just the list that came to mind, is the answered prayer that got me out of the cult. The answered prayer that got me out of the cult. I stood in the shower one day and was like, oh my God, got to get out of this, but how? I don't know how. And I was like, you know what? That's not up to me. So I said a little prayer, help me, show me, get me out of this, ideally with my relationship intact. With my relationship intact. And some of you may remember that I stood in that shower and then within a week, accidentally overheard a conversation that started a chain of events that led to not only me, but over 250 other teachers getting out of something unhealthy as well. So, story for another day in more details, coming soon. Number two, I have to put up there my amazing wife and life partner. And the fact that I even say the word wife was highly improbable for me. I used to bolt at the thought of marriage. And just last night we went on date night and it was I teared up when she turned to me and said, you're a great husband. You've really grown into the role amazingly. And I really appreciate your blah, blah, blah. So it was like, wow, you know. Never saw that one coming. Something else that's been manifested in the last couple of years that I could never have imagined was 30,000 square meters of our own land here in northern Mexico. Um, yeah, 30,000 square meters is a bit more than my mind would have said probable. I promise you. I promise you, you know. But I remember I used to have a business partner who who had a beautiful house in Surrey, and I'd visit him, and his house was in this huge lot, and you couldn't see the end of his garden. In fact, at the end of his garden was horses, and they had some horses living there and stable and stuff. And I remember just sitting there, hanging out with him, really inspired by it, thinking, wow, wouldn't it be amazing if you could have a house where you can't see the end of your garden? And it was just a little playful thought. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, I've got to have that now. And how do I generate the money? And how do I generate the da, da, da? It's like, wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be exciting? That would totally satisfy my desire for views and how I love to have views in space and nature and stuff. Well, there you go. Happened. Completely improbable, unexpected, and happened. I also like to focus my attention on the things that I love and spend my time doing things that bring value to me, bring value to others. And although I enjoy cooking, and though I enjoy cleaning to a degree, as much as anybody enjoys cleaning, unless you're Monica from Friends, who absolutely loved it, apparently. But unless you like absolutely love it, um, one of the things that I had been on the kind of the miracle list was to have someone that could help me with that. And when we moved to Mexico, we were looking for a cleaner, and we happened to ask the security guard, a lovely lady called Mary, if she knew anybody, because obviously she was the one that knew what was going on in the secure area in which we were living. So in Mexico, a lot of the places where people live, they have like a secure, it's all secure, and you have a security guards and a little fence that goes up and all the rest of it. And there's people in these boxes all day. In fact, Mary used to work in there for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and she got paid pennies for it. And she also had a 2 hour commute both ways to her house because she lived in a house across town. Um, so we happened to ask Mary, does she know anyone? And she went, actually, I'll do it. And we're like, sorry? And long story short, we ended up giving Mary a job. She cooks, cleans, and she's become part of the family. And all of that pressure was taken off, and it's freed us both up to do things. And Christina's been able to take on a master's in creative writing, and da 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 da. We've been able to focus on the homestead and making things happen. You get the point. But honestly, that's highly improbable, totally outside what I thought I could afford or was, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, one of the miracles is actually Mary. She's been amazing. She's really stepped up when we've had challenges. We both got food poisoning recently, and she stayed over and she fed us and cared for us, and it was just lovely. So Mary's a miracle. I'm going to make sure I tell her that tomorrow when she comes because I want her to know how much we appreciate her. But yeah, amazing. Also, like one of the things that we found really hard living up the mountain in Spain was the lack of support. Now you might think, well, you're monks and you had this loving community, but it really wasn't like that. Especially once we'd left, it was like, we could see the dust of them and running in the opposite direction of helping. And we had like the boiler would break, and the boiler actually broke one Christmas when we had COVID, or that which was called COVID. We tested positive for it anyway. We felt really crappy for a few days, and the boiler went off. So we're kind of like struggling through like winter up a mountain in Spain, which is actually quite cold. And we had like electric heater like on over the bed that was like really for outside, but we had it inside just trying to keep us warm. And no one would come to fix this boiler. No one. And it was one of the things when we left there is we wanted to have support. So another miracle we've got is Christina's dad happens to own a school university. Anytime we need anything, there's like this there. They're just there. It's like a miracle. And let me tell you a quick story about that, because just before we left, we were having loads of stuff happening with water. I don't know if anyone knows the symbolic nature of water and what water means. Tell us what it means. I got some feedback from one of my clients, which was quite relevant, but well, very very accurate actually. But I got to tell you a quick story about what happened and why I love the network of support that's miraculously appeared. We had the rental, we'd been cleaning it. The water stopped working at the rental. Okay. It just stopped working. Turns out Christina, I think she'd mentally left because she forgot to pay the water bill, which was she was in charge of. And they switched the water off 3 days before we were leaving. Just when we're trying to clean everything up. You can't need water to clean a house before you pass it on. So we're like, we finally get this water switched on, like the morning that we're leaving. So we're leaving. We're having to pass the keys over at 5:30 that afternoon, evening, and at 3:30, I go into the back garden thinking, okay, pretty much done. And I look over and I see my really nice brand new hose, or brand new. It's new enough. Lovely hose attached to the tap out on the wall of the garden. And so I go over and I'm trying to twist this tap and it wouldn't, it kind of calcified or something, whatever you call it. And so guys, I get my toolkit, because I'm obviously a rancher now, right? And all DIY and stuff. Not yet, but I'll tell you in the story about another miracle that's happened just yesterday about that. And I get my whatever it's called and I hook it onto the tap and I'm turning it. And then suddenly the whole tap breaks off in my hand and the mains water starts spraying all over me, down my front, in my face. And I'm like, and it starts flooding the garden. And I'm like, Mary, because Christy is away. I don't know how to switch this off because turns out it was out the front of the house, but it'd been the thing had been buried under leaves in the hole in the ground. So like Mary's standing there with a mop trying to block this water from coming out, and I'm on the phone, da da da. But within 20 minutes, one of the maintenance guys shows up, and 15, 20 minutes before we're handing the keys over, he's already fitted a brand new tap, and it's like it never happened. And the owner showed up, and it was like it never happened. So that's an example of I think being able to have an amazing team. We were just in that evening with Christina going, that is so different to what used to happen at the mountain in Spain. We just, by the end, the landlord just refused to fix the boiler. And so we had no hot water for the final 3 or 4 weeks we were living in Spain. It was like the mountain was just kind of pushing us off, going, yes, it's the right decision to leave. It's time to move on. And we can take these messages. So yeah, the massive team that I find that's here is a miracle. And Chewy, the guy that showed up to fix my broken tap, Chewy, lovely guy. He's a miracle too. Number 6, my Spanish language teacher. She's awesome. She's such a miracle. She's come out of nowhere. She showed up a few months ago, and I've been learning Spanish. But the cool thing about it was she's totally hooked in to the expatriate community in Chihuahua, which there isn't that big of community here. And so we've actually met so many really cool friends through my Spanish teacher. And again, for me, that's a miracle because I couldn't foresee coming to a foreign city, not knowing anybody apart from Christina's family, a journey or the way to create a community for us. Does that make any sense? I didn't know if I should just go to Google and rent a friend or something. I didn't know how it'd work. And so the miracle is how it came to us, the network. We could never have created that scenario where that happened. And it's not like we've just even hooked into the network of expatriates or people learning Spanish. It's more that we got on really well with a teacher who has a great network of people. And it's one of the reasons that we found our new architects stuff. Very cool. Other things that manifested. I hope this isn't boring you. I'm just trying to give you some true life examples. It sounds like I'm talking about myself a bit too much tonight, but maybe that's sorry for that. But I want you to get the magic back. I want you to get the miracle back. I want you to get the feelings back. And shares us some things that you might not know about me. Number seven, my awesome truck. Oh my God. I've got the most awesome F-150 truck. Like I want here they have big trucks. Don't shoot the messenger, climate change, guilt trip me or anything like that. Everyone's got them here. The roads are massive. In fact, it's safer to have one because they don't really know how to drive, and you learn in a day here and get your license. And there's a lot of accidents and stuff. So you really want to be up high in something that's really solid. And so when I moved here, I wanted to get myself a truck. Then I found out the prices, and they're coming in. I can't remember the exact exchange rate, but normally 1.5 million pesos. It's a lot for the average truck. And I was looking around going, how is this going to happen? I really had this dream. I had the exact truck in mind. In fact, I went round to a friend of the family's house, and there is the truck that I had in mind sitting in his driveway. I'm like, where did you get that? He's like, I just bought it a week ago. I said, you bought that a week ago? How? Oh, it's a hobby of mine. I love to buy trucks and cars, and I just rotate through them very fast throughout the year, and it's one of my hobbies. I was like, oh, I really want, I mean, yours is the ideal truck that I'd want. And he said, well, I'll sell it to you if you want. Exact price I bought it for a week ago. I'm like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, I imported it from Mississippi and it's all ready to go on the roads here in Chihuahua. And I got a truck that's amazing condition for the exact amount we had budgeted for our new vehicle in Mexico. I mean, I promise you, the traditional way of doing that would be to either look on Auto Trader or look online or be searching around all the places or all that. The how, and it was impossible, and it was a complete miracle. Making does that make sense? Or maybe I should have done five miracles, not 10 miracles. I just got excited when I was writing about this. It's your homework. It's one of your homeworks. If you're wondering, this is why I'm spending so much time on it. Your homework between now and next time is to write your list of miracles. And they will be there. Things that were improbable, surprising, and came through an unexpected how. Okay? Please, please, please take the time to do the homework like I did. It really reignited magic. Magic. My two amazing dogs. They have to be on the list. It was so improbable, so impossible. Um, and they're just sat laying on my sofa over there, just like so happy, sleeping, like they're like in perfect unison. Anyway, they're beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But how it happened, I'll tell you a story another day about it, but they're definitely on there. Number nine, the cabin on the land. We talked about that. And number 10, and just yesterday, I manifested a mentor to teach me carpentry. And it was Christina that kind of reminded me that this was a miracle because I've been saying for a while, I really want to learn a hands-on skill and I really am drawn to carpentry. I don't know if it's like my Jesus anchorings or something. I don't know, but I'm joking. But I wanted to learn carpentry. It's like I imagine myself with the ranch to have like a little shop and to be like being able to go in there and create things and do things and wood was really appealing to me. And we had a carpenter come and we got on really well with him. He built the kitchen here and he built the doors and our closets and stuff like that. He's done a great job. And we've got on really well with him. And he speaks some English and we get on really well. And yesterday he came over. We found this random kind of old piece of furniture in a basement on someone's house via Facebook Marketplace. And it was this very old school type of scenario where like there was this kind of drawers, but they were on chains that you'd attach to your wall. Have you ever seen such a thing? And so there was three parts to this piece of furniture, all chained to the wall. I mean, not my personal style, but removed the chains. It was a really nice top of a piece of furniture. So we asked him to make us like a big sideboard with that being the top and doors below it and all that sort of stuff. So he came around yesterday and he said, you know what? Would you like to come to the shop and make it with me? Like would you like me to show you how to do carpentry? And I'm like, yeah, of course. Now you could, again, normal thinking would say, I want to learn carpentry. I have to, I guess, Google carpentry schools or academies or something and attend an evening class in it or something and pay for it. And he just wants me to hang out with him in his shop and maybe have a cerveza with him and uh, work with making this thing together. And he's going to show me all about it. Does that make that's pretty fun, isn't it? It's quite a fun little thing. But these are just examples of um, things that have happened in the last couple of years for me that defy logic. And so let me reiterate your job is to focus on what you want, bit of why you want it. Um, I would say, like I've always said, you have to associate every intention with positive emotion. I'm not convinced by that anymore. I think it has to be pure intention and whatever energy is required to bring it into reality. The example of letting myself have that frustration and it being manifested so quickly with that energy shifted my perspective on that. So let me be clear. I'm not saying you want to be feeling bad um, in relation to your goal, but that particular energy and that particular moment, I believe, helped bring it into creation. And I say that because the intent behind it was still pure. The intent behind what I wanted was still pure, although it arose with frustration. The intent was still pure. Where the negative emotion zone often can be counter manifesting is that if it's a negative emotion, it can have negative tensions attached to it as well. Like I don't want to be lonely, I don't want to be broke, I don't want to be out in the streets, I don't want to do this career for the rest of my life. And so it can have negative intentions as opposed to what is you actually want. So that's the trick. But as they say in life, there's no free lunches. There's no free lunches. Have you heard of that? There's no free lunch. Oh no, what is it? There's no such thing as a free lunch. I think is the official way of putting it. And in the process of moving into our free cabin, for example, um, it's required a lot of effort. It's required energy. It's required us to be willing to overcome a whole host of unexpected things that one could appear to be barriers or problems. And so let me flip the conversation a little bit from the 10 miracles I've had recently, is just to tell you how, although we're living rent free in this house and it was not didn't cost us anything to purchase. There usually does appear to be an exchange, even if things appear to be free, but there's usually an exchange for what it is that you want. There's an exchange of energy. Okay. And again, I think this is a really honest, real way of looking at manifestation. I think some people think they just have to sit at their home, sit on their couch, dream big about it, and it's something that comes knocking on the door. Does that make sense? And I do. I'm a firm believer in meeting the universe halfway, or whatever is required along the journey. So, what happened in the process of this free house? Well, number one, the water stopped working in the old rental, making it hard to clean, which we know you might remember. The water wasn't working in the cabin as well. So there was a point a couple of weeks ago where we had no running water in our house and no running water in our cabin. Okay. We're like, what's going on here? And then I end up covered in water from the mains in the back garden that day. So please, any ideas about what we were trying to be told? I mean, we've been told is about movement and getting unstuck and stuff like that. So if you have anything else beyond movement and flow, let us know. It turns out, if you're wondering, that so there's a well here that has thousands of liters of water stored in it, and we are fed from the well just over the way there. And her dad had let a little portion of the land over there to this guy that had a few trees, and he was struggling at one point, and so he was paying hardly any rent for this, and he had a few trees, but his business had grown significantly. And what actually was happening, although every time they couldn't figure out why every time they went back in the morning, the well had somehow emptied. Where to, they didn't know. They were looking for leaks and everything. It was costing like $1,500 of diesel to keep this well functioning, which shouldn't be using anywhere near that in a month, using that. And they were trying to fix it. What's going on? Well, it turns out the guy across the way, um, he had a fire engine hose, and every night when it got dark, he was spraying his trees for hours, and he basically was emptying the well every night. Since then, obviously, that pipe has stopped working because that wasn't part of the deal. But anyway, but it took us a while to figure that one out. Okay, it took us a while to figure that out. So it was days and days, of having no water. And there was obviously the time where I woke up in the morning and I turn the tap, there's water, fantastic. So I finally get in a shower. I'm halfway through washing my hair and it goes, and then the water stops. And I've got to be honest, I might have sworn that day in the shower. I was like, you're kidding me. I was like, I let myself have a human moment. But yeah, the water wasn't working for a while and we had to deal with that. Um, Talking of water, I've already told you about my back garden experience. They painted the cabin the wrong color, so we had to go back to the drawing board with that, get a new color, and get more paint and paint it again. Um, they installed a fence to keep the dogs in, which was especially important because 3 days before we were moving house, Luma decided to go on heat, and so was bleeding and fertile, and we're not quite ready for new Lumas. Sorry, Luma, but we're not really ready for new Lumas at the moment. And so not only is she getting blood all over the clean house every time we try to clean something, we're trying to no, don't jump on that, don't jump on that. But also, um, there's other dogs on the land here that live at the school and university, and we had to try and keep Luma in. But when they built the fence to keep the dogs in, there was space around the bottom of the fence. They hadn't like it wasn't going to the ground, so the dogs were able to escape, and we had to like be trying to move in dogs, fences. Keep Luma in, don't keep Luma in. Like, I'm trying to like block the bottom of it. So we get them to come and fix it. And you know what they do? They bring a big hammer and they just hammer the fence lower into the ground. So we end up with a shorter fence than we're hoping for. Anyway, that's welcome to Mexico. Um, oh yeah, we bought curtains in the USA. We have a guy that from El Paso, and he drives. They have a courier once a week, and they bring whatever we buy in America. They bring over border. We pay customs, etc. But they bring it over the border to us here, which is great because it's much better shopping over there than here, and more options and stuff. But for some reason, 2 weeks in a row, they just forgot, and they've never forgotten anything, and they forgot our curtains 2 weeks in a row. So we end up having to move in with no curtains, which is there's a lot of windows here, and it was kind of annoying. Um, the blinds, different to curtains, the blinds that needed actual custom made, they brought the wrong color twice, and we had to deal with that. The shower glass, which we have a shower, and the glass that keeps the water in, it's like just a that only arrived yesterday, and it'd been like meant to be here 6 weeks ago. This is a great one. They installed the cooker hood. So, above the cooker, you've got this little cooker hood, the extractor fan, I guess you'd call it. They installed the cooker hood, and I walk in and go, that looks a bit high to me. And so I get the cable, and it didn't reach the plug. Oh, that was funny. Um, the fridge arrived, which was great. A beautiful fridge. One of these fancy Samsung ones where you can choose your own front panels. I don't know if you've seen them, but you can like choose your own colors and stuff. And we chose this particular fridge and paid a bit extra for it because we really liked a particular color that's going to work perfect for our house. But guess what? They're sold out of the front panels in all of Mexico. They're just sold out, and they've been sold out for quite a while. And we didn't get told that when we bought it, and now we have a half-made fridge. The gardener had to wait for the broken fence to be made, and so it's just been dust. And Luma and they've been rolling around in dust because they're puppies. And every day we come here, like we're having to wash them sometimes twice a day because like it's absolutely terrible. I'm not going to go on. But the point is, oh, it's windy season as well. I don't know if you ever know that about Mexico. It's windy season, and it really is. It's windy, and so that means the workers haven't been able to show up and for some days and things like that. The point I'm trying to make with all this is that there is no free lunch, and you could view all of these things as problems. You could read into them and say signs that we shouldn't should we even be doing this. We could get really frustrated, angry, annoyed, etc., etc. But here's the thing, and this is the takeaway from this. So hopefully, if you've sat through all that, you're willing to hear this takeaway. Anything that happens in the how is exactly how it has to be manifested. So we can engage the process of manifesting, hoping or expecting that nothing bad happens or there's no problems along the way or anything like that. But that is just a fast track to frustration. And usually, if we go in with that mentality, we're going to end up resisting a lot because there's what you think is going to happen and how you think it should unfold, and then it's how it actually unfolds. And what I'm trying to convey here is that whatever happens along the way is how it's going to happen. It is how it is manifesting. Although there's been all these things that have happened that could have really knackered me, pissed me off, um, made it really stressful or whatever, with no expectations as to how it happens, the how is the way, or the way that it unfolds is exactly how, and the only how it could have happened. The improbable and surprising requires improbable and surprising happening in order for the improbable and surprising to be able to manifest. Do you see what I'm saying here? So it has to be curveballs. It has to be unexpected. It has to be, are you kidding me? Really? 1 hour, 2 hours before I'm passing the keys over, I'm covered in mains water and the garden is flooding. Are you kidding me? There has to be some of that. Really hear this. The improbable and surprising requires improbable and surprising things to happen in order for you to actually achieve, or for you, the miracle, which is improbable and surprising, to be able to happen. Okay? And when we engage it that way, we engage it with curiosity, less expectations, far less resistance. And it's just really exciting. It's like, oh, what next? Oh, what now? Oh. And we get to be able to, in that magic place, as opposed to in that mundane, like trying to just get the thing that I want so that I'm happy later. It's a very, very enjoyable process of manifesting. Expecting no problems usually just causes resistance when curveballs inevitably happen. You want to assume everything that happens, good or bad, is the exact map to the manifesting or the thing you want to manifest. Okay? You're not going to necessarily know how it is going to be manifested at the start, during, or even to the 11th hour right before. It's like, oh, it's here. It's happened. You're not going to necessarily know. And what I've seen with people, and you may have seen this before as well, is that especially something like with being adults, when we get these responsibilities and we have these jobs and these mortgages or money or whatever, we can just slip out of that childlike curiosity, that childlike excitement. We stop letting ourselves dream and we get too caught up in the how. You can have a nice idea of something, oh, that'd be really exciting. I really love that. But so quickly, the how, or how it's probably not going to happen, or I don't know how that's going to happen, or the mind can even talk us out of it before we even get to the gestation of the dream stage of it. And we need to be willing to dream. And one of the ways that we dream is to maybe talk about it, to share with our friends what you want, to share, to get it out there, to tell the universe. But we have to be dreaming. Now, you got to remember the universe is eavesdropping on all of our thoughts, our imagination, our dreams. So we got to tell it what we want, but we do need to be willing to do whatever it takes when the how starts to unfold. Need to be willing to engage it, do whatever it takes. So here's your homework: be open to the improbable and surprising. Oh, that's horrible homework. Really? You want me to do that for the next few days? That's horrible. No, it's actually, I really, really please play with this. Don't just go, oh, that was nice entertainment for a Sunday night. I'm now going to go and forget about it for the next few days. I really urge you to play with it. Play with being open to the improbable and surprising. Your homework is to rekindle the magic feeling. To rekindle the magic feeling. Your homework is to list the miracles that have happened to you or for you. Uh, you can pick a time, 5 years, 10 years, 2 years. I did it. I did 2 years. I shared miracles in the last 2 years to you today, but pick a time that feels reasonable, realistic for you to find a few, and see if you can get 10. I'm saying 10 because your first few will be the obvious, and then I want you to actually see how many miracles are actually happening that you might not have recognized as such. Play with assuming whatever happens when going for your goal is the way to your goal, is the how unfolding. Not a barrier, not a problem, but the way, the price, the exchange. The good news is there's going to be lots of lessons and learnings for us and lots of growth in there and lots of things we can see about ourselves and learn about ourselves and others, etc., along the way. So even what appears to be a price there has a benefit as well for you. So right at the beginning of today, I'm just going to close on this. Right at the beginning of today, I talked about how logic can get in the way. Our limited mind conditioning, our beliefs and all that sort of stuff can get in the way of us manifesting miracles. Struggling to manifest miracles is really a symptom of us forgetting who we are. Huh? How did you link back to that again? Well, let me tell you. It's a symptom of forgetting our innate connection with all things. Struggling to manifest, and especially if we're not in this world of manifesting miracles, doesn't feel like that. It's really a symptom of us forgetting our innate, intimate connection with creation itself. If you believe that you are a separate individual who has to somehow create the best life for yourself, then the journey of manifestation can be lonely, stressful, overwhelming, and feel impossible. We lose the magic and we get too caught up in logic. So make that shift this week, this month. Logic to magic. Look around. Your world is pure magic. I once heard a quote that said, "The world is built on magic, not rocks." I still love that quote. So this is my closing words to you. Look around and notice creation. Notice creation. Notice all that has been created without your individual input. Notice all that's created without you needing to do it. It's created, it's here, it's creating. Like I see out my window, there's trees, there's land, there's dust, there's blue sky, there's a truck that just drove in. So I had nothing to do with creating that. Do you understand? Like it's already here and it's being created without my needing my individual input. What you can discover in your own experience is that Creation is not separate from creator. They're indivisible. Creation and creator. You are part of creation. You're experiencing yourself from the first-hand subjective experience, but you are part of creation. If you could get a drone and go up and see yourself just kind of walking around like everyone else, you then realize, oh, I'm part of this created. You're not just a bit of creation. You are one with creator. It's undeniable. There's creation here that you had nothing to do with. And within creation is creator. They're indivisible. So I'm inviting you to restore the magic of creation, the creation within you now, and recognize that you are that. If you're following along with what I'm sharing right now, I'm wondering if it inspires any joy within you when you reconnect with this magic. That joy is the creative force. If it sparks joy within you when you dream about something that you want, even if you don't know how it's going to happen, that is your role to spark the creative force within you. So be open to more joy if you're really keen to manifest miracles. I got a lot more to say about new beginnings, manifesting, and more tools to share. And there are some of the teachings in the book that I want to return to and share more about. But we're going to do that next time in part 2. I hope you've enjoyed today's session. I hope it sparked something in you again. I hope it simplified things for you even more. Please do not take away from this that I just need to sit here and know what and why a bit, and then all else shall be added. There is a participation in manifesting miracles, but they're miracles because they're improbable and they're surprising. Your participation is improbable and surprising. So if there's a quote you take from today, it's probably something along the lines of, to manifest miracles, you need to be willing to experience the improbable and surprising along the way, because you require the improbable and surprising for there to be miracles in the first place. But I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed today's session. I hope you feel the life that's coming through today. I hope you feel aprio, to open. I hope you feel the fresh start, the new beginnings, the possibilities, the potential. I hope you're feeling that, because that's really what I wanted to infuse in today, and that's what I wanted the transmission to be at the end of the day. So I hope you've enjoyed today. Happy manifesting miracles, the improbable, the surprising, the miraculous. And until next time, thanks for joining me for today's episode. Please like, subscribe, and write a review wherever you happen to be listening. It really does help to support me and this podcast. For more information about my one-to-one sessions, Calm Clan community, books, and academy courses, head over now to minddetox.com.